Hi, welcome to the third game between Boros Taxes and Jeskai Tempo. We are testing here the list of Boros Taxes. If you are not familiar with it, just click on the link above where you will see the fundamentals and the reasons behind the creation of this deck. For now, the two previous games have been very interesting. It has shown that Boros Taxes can really deal with such a matchup, and this would be the deciding matchup, so to say, among the three of them. So far, I couldn't record the audio while we were playing these games because this is a new camera and I didn't get the settings right, so sorry for that. That's why I'm adding the comments afterwards. So let's begin right now by seeing which kind of cards I drew. So we have 2 lands, 1 preacher or 2 preachers. Yes, 1 Swords to Plowshares, 3 lands, and 1 Winter Orb. So far so good. It looks like Elena would have to deal with those preachers. And her first turn is City of Brass, Mox Ruby, and Savannah Lions, taking 1 damage already. My turn is just land go. There's not too much I can do, although the 2 preachers are going to be very important in a few turns. Let's see how this develops, but the first thing that happens is obviously the Savannah Lions massaging my face. Which is something that Jeskai Tempo is very good at doing. I could have in my turn deployed the Winter Orb, but that would have been only bad for me. So nothing else I can do than just saying go. So Elena drew a strip mine, and in terms of I took 2 extra damage. In terms of tempo, it's not such a bad idea to just go ahead and destroy my plateau. This would prevent me from having this would prevent me from having red mana, but instead of that she goes all into the aggro mode, investing tempo points into a Serendip Ifrit that needs to be immediately answered with one of my Swords to Plowshares. No time to wait for a King Suleiman or 2 extra turns in order to be able to steal it from her. So now I get to decide whether I cast a White Knight to be able to stall the game against the Savannah Lions. That would be a greedy kind of move, but on the other hand, if I do this, which is what I'm doing, if Elena has any piece of removal in her hand, she will have to use it against my White Knight, and this is so much better for me because my intention is to get rid of the pieces of removal that she will have in her hand so that I can deploy my preachers afterwards and they will be very free to stay. No worries at all in the battlefield. And as long as they stick, this means that Jeskai Tempo cannot deploy any more creatures. One could wonder that deploying many creatures in a row would be enough to deal with the preacher, but to be honest, I would start attacking with her creatures. She would have to block them at some point. Then she would waste her own resources dealing against her own creature, and as soon as that creature dies, I would activate the preacher again and steal yet another creature from her that for sure would be better. The preachers dramatically change the game. It's just I'm so happy to deal with these cards because I never played old school like this before. This deck is so fascinating. So now we are discussing about, Elena is deciding whether to activate the strip mine to destroy my plains or my plateau. And we're discussing that mainly plateau is the better option because this prevents me from having access to red color, and just like that, I won't be able to cast Blood Moon. In case that she would expect an incoming Blood Moon and I would have access to red mana, the plains would be the best because then I wouldn't have white mana anymore under a Blood Moon. But since this is too early to do any of this, the best choice is to just destroy my plateau. And she does that. Now she has to deal with the White Knight. This would be a tempo move, And it looks like it's happening. Yes, it's happening. Lightning Bolt hits the White Knight. I can't do anything against it because it's not black, it's red. And 2 damage from the Savannah Lions. This is what Jeskai Tempo wants to be doing. This is what Jeskai Tempo wants to be doing, basically. She doesn't play a land, and the reason for this is because she knows that I'm playing land tax in my deck, and she doesn't want to activate this possibility for me. Because in the previous game, I drew so many cards, and they were all so good, only because I was able to abuse that mechanic. But now she has to make another decision. 2 extra damage for me, this is not good. Those Savannah Lions have already done a lot of damage. And now that I have 3 lands, it's obvious that Elena can start deploying more lands. Now my first Preacher is going to enter the battlefield, and probably it's going to also be removed with removal. Let's see. But in case it doesn't, then I will start hitting her with her own Savannah Lions, and that's going to be very cool to watch. Until then, until it gets its Summoning Sickness back, the Preacher cannot defend me. So I get 2 extra damage. Looking back at this game, maybe it would have been the right choice to block. But let's see. You can tell me in the end if this was a moment where I made a terrible mistake. For now, she's considering tapping the City of Brass. What is she thinking about? Nothing yet. I drew that land tax that I was planning for, but I cannot activate it, so it makes no sense to play it this turn. So there comes the second Preacher. This is going to be very hard for her if both of them are active. Yep, one of them is going to be destroyed or removed from the game, exiled, so at least I get 1 extra life point. But the Savannah Lions are devastating me. They are destroying me completely. This is exactly what Jeskai Tempo wants to be doing. Boros Taxes doesn't seem to be recovering. It's all the time on its back foot. This is yet another time where I can't defend with the Preacher. And so I take the damage, and this is going to be very bad for me because at some point I will have very little amount of life points, and this could create an opportunity where Elena could cast Psionic Blast and Lightning Bolts to my face, and this would end the game. This is what I mean, like, how many Preachers do I want to play? How greedy do I want to be before I actually block that Savannah Lions? I believe this Savannah Lions has done, if not 8-10 damage already to me. This dude has basically owned the battlefield ever since it was cast at the beginning of the game. This is how powerful Savannah Lions can be when they are combined in a deck with plenty of removal, so that they can just finish the game in 10 turns. Now we are discussing what are her chances. Should she attack with both Savannah Lions and Mishra's Factory? And in that case, I would activate both my Preachers. Well, one at least. No matter what she does, I will be able to steal one of the creatures. Of course, if she does that, the best choice is for her to choose Mishra's Factory, because right before giving it to me, she could tap it, and then I couldn't block that Savannah Lions. And it would make even more problems. It would give me even more problems when it comes to dealing with that Savannah Lions. They have done so much damage to me already. And Elena has 2 counterspells, 1 Disenchant, 1 Psionic Blast. It looks like a second Psionic Blast at the leftmost corner. This is very difficult for me. This is going to be very difficult for me. This enchant is going to protect her against any artifact or Blood Moon that I may cast. She's considering attacking, and then we're talking about this scenario where I would want to steal one of her creatures. At least I don't take damage from that creature, so it's going to happen. we're still considering, because I will want to steal one of the creatures before she actually declares attackers. So right after she activates the Mizra's Factory, before declaring attackers, I have the possibility to use only one creature. The other one has summon insignias. Of course, the best possible option for her is to, in response to my preacher activation, tap her Mizra's Factory either for mana or for a +1/+1 to itself, and then give me that Mizra's Factory, so that I cannot block with it because it will be tapped. Then, no matter what, I will again take 2 more damage. And this is the moment when I am given again an opportunity to block with the Preacher that has Summon Insignias. But for some reason I'm not doing it. I'm being very greedy. And this is, it's good because I'm experimenting with this deck. I want to see how far it can go. And unfortunately, I'm discovering that direct damage is something very bad. So what I'm doing instead, because I don't want to take any more damage, is to use my Swords to Plowshares to finally deal with that Mizra's Factory, and then I steal the Savannah Lions. This is going to be bad for me because obviously, best case scenario, I would like to save my Swords to Plowshares against Serra Angels with priority, and in second place for the Serendipity Ifrits, because I still don't have any King Suleiman. But having 2 Preachers in game, I believe this could be okay. So let's see. Elena is a bit confused. I believe it is the first time ever that we are dealing with Preachers and she doesn't really know these mechanics. But I'm pretty sure in no time she will definitely learn how to do this. Now we are going back because she could have countered it and she didn't understand very well what was going on. Of course, she could have countered my Swords to Plowshares, so I'm in trouble. These 3 damages are not going to go through because I'm stealing that creature, but the 2 damages from the Savannah Lions are going through, and this is bad. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Would you block with the Preacher? Am I being too greedy here, attempting to have 2 Preachers, knowing that my Swords to Plowshares has been countered? There is no way I can use one single Preacher effectively, so does it make sense what I'm doing? What do you think? So far, Elena needs to commit to her decision on whether this plan sticks or doesn't. She wants to understand very well what the mechanics are, because obviously in this case, at the end of her turn, the Mizra's Factory will stop being a creature. So it's only intuitive that it will return to her as a land, because the Preacher can only control creatures. So she has a Time Twister, 1 Psionic Blast, 1 additional counterspell. It looks very good for her. These Savannah Lions have been doing so much. No wonder that it's one of the most used creatures in old school. Very, very good. So this is my turn. Unfortunately, I couldn't do anything else than getting 2 extra damage. And there's not too much I can do with this hand. I could consider that if I want to disable those Mistress Factories, one option could be to cast Winter Orb. If I want to gamble it on destroying the Mistress Factory with my Chaos Orb, that could be also another plan. I could cast both, but then the Winter Orb would tax me very hard next turn, and I couldn't activate the Chaos Orb at the same time. So perhaps it is the right turn to cast Winter Orb. What would you have done? Because this is random. Alright, I see I'm casting the Chaos Orb. And in addition to this, I'm also casting Winter Orb. I'm being very greedy here. I cannot activate the Chaos Orb. And I'm leaving everything to the Preachers. The whole weight of the game it's now standing on the shoulders of the 2 Preachers. Elena is also in a bad situation because if she doesn't find any direct damage, I will definitely start stealing the game, because I will steal her Savannah Lion, start attacking. If she decides to block with Mizra's Factory, then she's killing her own creature. It looks very good for me, except for the fact that those 7 life points, it's really dangerous. We are talking about just 2 cards here. We're talking about Lightning Bolt plus Psionic Blast, and our build of Jeskai Tempo has 4 copies of each, so 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Psionic Blasts. To be honest, doesn't look very, very good for me if she finds this damage. And she has 1 of those Psionic Blasts in hand. So I am virtually at 3 lives. What does she top deck? She top decks a Mizra's Factory. I can't do anything with those 2 land tags. She has less lands than I do, so at least I'm trying to constrain her ability to cast Psionic Blast with my Winter Orb. But the Mox Ruby is actually breaking this plan. If I could pay attention to this, the first thing I need to do with my Winter Orb is to destroy that Mox Ruby, because it's going to give her much more flexibility than what should be required, because I definitely want to have only... I want to have her only untap 1 land per turn. So I attack with her own Savannah Lions and a Preacher. And at the end of the turn, I'm getting 4 damage, which is very bad. This is like a prophecy foreseeing that I'm going to be dead very soon, because obviously chances are really high that she finds the card that she wants to. And she has even a Time Twister. And what she draws is... do we know it? Man, this is so thrilling. Can Boros Taxes do something? Untap, and she said go. Winds of Change, this is really good. She has 4 lands, I also have 4 lands. It's not going to help me too much. I attack again. This time not with the Preacher, because I foresee that she could attack me with a Mizra's Factory. That would be the worst, because I would be giving away even more free life points. So I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to destroy that Mox Ruby that it's going to determine the difference between life and death. And these are tests. Now it's good. And it didn't work. It didn't work because it only flipped 180 degrees, not 360. And to be honest, fair is fair. I need to learn how to flip this Chaos Orb much more than what I know. My experience is very, very low. And this means that if she can do a land drop right now, that's game. If she finds a way to deal damage to me. However, she still gets to untap 1 land, I believe. I'm considering my options, but nothing looks very good. There's not too much I can do other than hoping that she makes mistakes. And there comes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands. This could be my chance to create a scenario where I can draw a lot of cards that are good. But nevertheless, can she find a way to finish the game? I have 6 turns to end this game with her own Savannah Lions. What is she going to do? Will she cast Time Twister? She has a lot of reactive cards in her hand that are not killing me. So there goes 3 mana, and there comes the Time Twister. Time Twister is going to give me a chance to draw Divine Offerings, but more interestingly, more importantly, it's going to give her the chance to draw 1 of 8 possible cards that are going to kill me on the spot, which are Lightning Bolts or Psionic Blast. Now, she already played a land, which at least can give me one turn if she doesn't find any mana arch acceleration with Moxes or Black Lotus. So let's see. This is basically hoping that luck will support me, but this shows up already that the design of Boros Taxes deck is good. However, my strategy dealing with this Savannah Lion was not so good. I realize now that it just did too much damage to me. I should have sacrificed one of my preachers and consider it spot removal, just 1-to-1 trade, call it a day. I could have had now 10 lives. I don't think so much that the deck needs life gain, but I do believe that I should be much more conservative in terms of how much do I allow creatures to deal damage to me in the early game, because now I'm in this scenario. I can't really do anything. I'm just hoping that she doesn't draw removal, direct damage. So let's see if this is the end of the game. She finds one lightning bolt, she finds 2 lightning bolts. Can she cast them this turn? There is a Black Lotus in her hand. There is nothing I can do, guys. I think this is the end. Is she going to go for it? What is she thinking about? Is she reconsidering her options? But it's very easy to think about. Here comes the Black Lotus. I'm already scared about what's going to happen. And there we go. We go with the 2 lightning bolts. This is game, guys. This is the end of the game. There were many options I could have had I have any mana to actually cast anything. But my own Winter Orb also did bad to me. And that's it, guys. That's it. This is the end of the game. This was an amazing game from Jeskai Tempo. Very cool how Elena could constantly force those little 2 damages at a time from the Savannah Lions. It was very intense from the Boros Taxes side because the preachers could have stolen that creature, but she found the removals, she found ways to push damage through, and in the end, when the game was stalled, she just shift gears and realized there is another vertical she can use, another angle, and it was important to change from combat damage to direct damage. And that's it. That's why Jeskai Tempo is so good, because this is, when Jeskai Tempo does its thing, then it does its thing. It just continues attacking every round, disrupting your spells, killing your creatures, etc, etc. Let me know if you like this game. Would you have played something differently? Once again, what do you think about this dilemma between Savannah Lions and the preachers? Would you have sacrificed one of the preachers? Just let me know. And please don't forget to subscribe and support me on Patreon. This would help me so much to continue making videos like this. If you like them, you know what to do. Until then, thanks for watching and see you in the next ones.